This that we said about the tightness through the hips both ways is going to cause your hips on the way back to go that way and your spine on the way down to go that way. Which is why we see the slide and the pop up, which will sort of cause your spine to rise up. So this was the swing before you had there where you were sort of going back. Your knees, although you can't sort of see from straight on, your knees to me look more flexed just because of the crease of your trousers. And that sounds a bit daft, but you look a bit more squatty there in terms of that setup, okay, which you were. So because of that now, as you start going back with the takeaway, you get to about there now, we're okay, and then the hips then start. It's that last sort of, just there, you get to about there okay, hips are starting to rotate, but now because of that sort of tightness there on that right hip, it can't go much further back, and then we just sort of pop it out to the side there, and it moves laterally. Now as you come, and then as you come back to the golf ball now, there's that sort of rising up, and at this point now you can see at the point of contact, your shaft lean, if that sort of middle part of the club there where your hands are, is definitely behind the golf ball. So you're adding loft to an already lofted club of 7-iron there. It's going to be going even higher, okay? So we want to try and do, I said, a bit more of a 3/4 length would be ideal. This was a smaller swing. Hips then now are rotated. That's okay, okay? And then you go a little bit further. There's a lot less sort of pop to that right side, obviously left as we look, okay? So that's not too bad. At least for me, your right hip's kind of inside your right foot there, rather than sliding too, hasn't gone sort of too far out this way, okay? The thing then to work on now, I think it's going to be sort of work we can do with some sort of the drills we said about that sort of in the bathroom there, doing 2 minutes twice a day, moving. This movement now, we get the same movement through the ball with the lower half. So impact there now, we would want your lower half to be in this sort of position as we hit the golf ball. Right. So, I mean, this is what I say, it's just a split second, 5.9, well, 5.9 we'll say, that's kind of your lower half position. We want it there at 5.8. So it's literally that sort of split second. So in some ways it's more of a movement with the body, getting more used to what the hips need to do. Okay. At the moment you sort of obviously a bit tight, you were squatting down, and some of the reasons why you may have squatted down because you were losing balance, you were topping some shots possibly, and just it's something you sort of evolved to do. Again, footballers and rugby players like to feel strength in their legs, and being squat kind of in that sort of that position of power. The lower you are down in the hips, the more you're going to restrict your movement, the more that hip's going to pop up, as we said. As you get to about here, it's going to just sort of slide out there that last second, and you're going to lose that bit of stability. And then the lower half now, that knee's already going that way to start with, and you're outside the right side of the right foot there. And once you get into that position, trying to come back to the golf ball is going to be tough. You'll lose balance when you come back, or you'll just try and stop yourself from hitting the golf ball. And just stop the body completely, because the club then overtakes, we can see it now, and that's when the high shots come in. At least some of these shots are towards the end where a cleaner contact. It's a little bit high because you're still leaning back, as see the shaft is a bit behind the ball, but that'll take a bit of practice getting into that position there. We want to try and get that. We'll give you some drills in a second to sort of practice that.
On the backswing, my right knee, what is it sort of anything in particular I should be doing? Because like sometimes I can feel it feels like it's sort of popping straight, and other times
it can straighten a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of guys say, "I'll keep your flexion in your right knee," but then when people say, when they hear the phrase "keep the flexion in the right knee," they keep their right knee completely locked. Okay, if I was going to swing a golf club, my knee is there. If this hip is going backwards, that knee can't stay there.
Yeah.
So if you try to keep him locked there, you'll get to about here somewhere. Hip's got to go somewhere, and you'll go that way.
Right. Yeah.
So my right knee, as I turn back, and my flex in my right knee is about sort of 1 or 2 inches there. I'm not sort of bending down my knees too much. I'm just sort of flexing the knees. They're straight. There's flexed. Okay. As I turn back, that knee is moving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely moving. Okay. This hip's going backwards, so that knee has to move. Okay. If he tries to stay in the same position, what you're going to do now, as he goes back, you'll be flexing your knee. It's trying to. So it has to move, okay? Don't try and keep the knee. You want to keep the flex in that right knee. Don't keep it completely still. We want to be locking backwards and popping, as you said, okay? But at the same time, don't try and keep it in the same position. Because then you're just going to right mess, and then you'll just start popping up even more so, as we said, okay? So, as I said, a little bit tall in the legs then, sort of summarise now. Tall in the legs, so your legs aren't going to be sort of squatting down quite so much. That will help you rotate. And the sensation now is your hips are going to be sort of rotating on the way back, and then sliding and rotating on the way through. You definitely sort of slide your hips on the way back and then just stop on the way down, just to try and stay upright, because you're fearful of losing balance, which is understandable. Okay, if you had a few shots where you have stepped into the ball and lost a bit of balance, you're going to swing to try and stop doing that. Okay, couple of drills I'm going to give you now. Okay, obviously the movement we said with the club on the toe there, just rotating your hips as much as you can will be one. Another drill you can do is hit some golf balls with the ball positioned by your left foot.
Right.
Because what you will have to do now as you hit the golf ball is move this way, or you'll miss the ball.
Right, yeah.
So you'll start getting in the habit of moving to that left, so we'll do in a second now. Get that feeling of almost over-exaggerate. If I sort of throw a ball over there somewhere, you go out to grab it. By putting the ball way too far forward, your brain's going to go, okay, well, when I get to the top of the backswing up here now, I've got to move left to go and hit it. So you'll start moving the hips and getting the hips moving in a better position, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good man. Right, have a couple of shots then.